Now, the controversy revolving around allegations that officials in the Israel prison services tolerated and even enabled the sexual abuse of female soldiers serving as guards by Palestinian security prisoners was the subject of discussion and debate today in Parliament at a special hearing of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee and the Public Security Committee. The affair has exploded over the past week following claims by one woman she was raped by a prisoner at the Gilboa jail, and authorities there turned a blind eye to the incident. And joining us now in the studio is diplomatic correspondent Mary McAuliffe, and I understand you were at that session in Parliament today. Tell us about it, Mary.
That's right, Calev. It was a session that absolutely did get very heated. There were clearly a lot of emotions flowing around. We had participants from the advocate for some of these female prison guards, the lawyer who's representing them, as well as army officials, prison guard officials, some ones who had served in Gilboa prison, as well as a number of Israeli politicians speaking to that. They spoke about a lot of these different issues, what they're doing moving forward, but I think one of the most important moments that came out of this hearing, especially for the alleged victims of this attack, was one of the moments that came from the committee head, Calev Ben David. We can listen to that.
All right, let's listen to that.
The state of Israel and the members of the Knesset are here to support and be there for the guards, but also to apologize. We need to apologize to them. We sent them to this national duty inside the prison facilities, and there was no one there to listen to them. I know that they hear the discussion, and I know that you also brought their letter. And I want you to convey my apology and that of the parliament members that we were not there for them.
So this apology, I think, was one of the more important things to come out of this testimonies today, especially also as we've heard this media storm that's come out. We've also heard from the former head of all of Israel's northern prisons saying there were simply no cases of sexual abuse, sexual complaints in his entire 5-year tenure in these prisons, which is when these took place. Some of these remarks were actually discussed by the lawyer who's representing these women, talking about the emotional harm that those had further done to them, that he had accused them of being greedy, looking for fame, looking for money by coming forward with these remarks. These were slammed by a number of the different politicians here today, but we also did hear more testimony from the lawyer describing exactly what she went through and the role this prisoner had and why the sixth victim didn't immediately come forward when she was a prison guard and why she's only coming forward now. So we can also listen to what her lawyer said. This is her reading a statement from her client.
All right, let's take a listen to that.
A few years ago, I went through several brutal acts of rape within the walls of the prison while I was a soldier. Since then, I have become a shattered and broken woman. There is no room for questions as to why I did not tell in real time that I was repeatedly raped. Those who were in prison in those days and know this abominable terrorist, rapist, murderer, know that if I would have complained to anyone, it would have been only to him, because full control of the prison was given only to him.
So this is also an important statement coming out. We've heard the statement. It was released earlier this week when we first heard these testimonies from this sixth victim who has accused this prison guard of raping her. She said, we revealed today that she didn't come forward and talk to her commanders at the time. There have been other victims who said they did tell their commanders. A few of them have been named, some of the officers who they said accusing them of covering it up or either lying, simply preventing these stories from coming forward. We know it's been difficult for them to try and come forward with these stories. An investigation was originally opened and then closed again. So this hearing is the beginning of, again, re-upping what this investigation has been that started 6 months ago. But much of it has been shielded from the media as it's been under this gag order censorship. So we're just beginning to hear some of the details. All Israeli officials are vowing a full response. We heard from politicians from the left and the right talking today about how disgusted, horrified they were about taking these actions. The next question is what happens next. Gantz had called, the defense minister had called for an immediate ban on female soldiers who are serving mandatory service from being in these prison wards with security prisoners. But then the interior minister is saying today that they need legislation in order for that to happen. But we have to remember, of course, Israel is an election cycle, so it's unclear if legislation would even be able to be brought forward if they wanted to go forward and end this mandatory prison service for the females. So again, it's quite up in the air, but the authorities say they're doing everything to investigate what's happening. But it is important also to note that there are a number of these officers who are accused who remain still serving